Welcome back to My Steps to Sobriety, the show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today, I have got a guest, Sammi Reyes. Sammi is coming straight from the United States to me here into my New Zealand recording studio, and I am very, very excited to talk to her because if you want to talk to someone who is caring and ambitious and already has got her sights set towards helping others, then who better to ask than Sammi, because that's exactly who she is. So Sammi, thank you very much for coming onto my show.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about today.
And I'm so pleased, Sammi, you are 19 years old and you're already a force to be reckoned with because due to your own circumstances, you have at an early stage learned that negative emotions are there and you need to deal with them in the right way. Mm-hmm. And now you're an advocate of helping others to do exactly that. So I'm so pleased. So let's explore that, Sammi. First of all, what are you doing right now?
Yeah, for sure. So I've always been a multi-passionate person. So I've currently hold many titles, but I'm currently a second-year college student at San Diego State University over in San Diego, California. I am a passion coach and I help others, find truly what they love to do and allow them to incorporate it into their everyday, whether they're, on top of their 9-to-5 or on top of school. I also have my own marketing agency called St. Beatrice Marketing, where I help influencers and nonprofits really get their voice out through social media marketing. And I'm a podcast host of the Fashion Your Passion podcast, hence being a passion coach. And I speak to high schools and colleges across the country about finding your passion, developing your dream life, and just transforming your life in general.
Just as you do. I mean, what else would a 19-year-old do? I mean, absolutely. Exactly. Now, okay, conflict of interest here. I am the father of a 19-year-old and a 17-year-old who have their own passions, but they are somehow going along different lines, more towards maybe gaming, maybe playing a good game of chess, maybe sleeping in, more these kind of things. So obviously something in your past has triggered you to be different. Yeah. Are you happy to share that?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't really have a cool story. For this, I've always been sort of an old soul, and many people nowadays, my best friends, they're like, Sammi, you're 19 going on 35. Like, I don't know what to do with you anymore. And I was like, listen, when I turn 35, I'm going to be 60. So you need to start taking care of me. And I'm the oldest child out of three daughters. And I just have always been much more independent than the rest of my friends or my family or whoever. And I think that, with that independence, when I first started my own personal development journey, it really sprung into, okay, now that I'm, and I've always been very career set. I've always been, everything that I did sort of throughout middle school and high school was based off of, okay, what I'm going to do in college and what I'm going to do for my career. And so once I sort of, was feeling a little bit better about myself, I really was like, okay, now how can I turn this into a career? How can I, there was a switch that set off of me that was like, I never want to work for someone else again. Whether it's, whatever it was, like, I was just like, I want to work for myself. I want to make my own hours. I want to do my own thing and sort of have the leniency to, just to create. And like, I've never been a creative person, but like, when I first started to lean into these different things where I saw opportunity, in entrepreneurship, in, whatever else it was, I was like, I have the ability to create in a way that's not like art, that's not like music, that's not like dance. So I am creative in some sort. So I think that, I like to call myself a special case in that, I just started my career very early on, and I was always, sort of, like you said before, I've been ambitious since day one. I remember so vividly in sixth grade, we got this project in social studies and history class. And she's like, okay, it's, a 14-part project. It's due in a month from now. I remember I went home that night. I finished every single part of that project, and I handed it in the next day. So I was like, I don't want to have this on my plate anymore. I can be done with this in one night, and that was it. So I've always been the kid to, sort of get ahead and be ahead. And, I've always been a teacher's pet. So I've sort of, resonated more with my teachers and my peers. And so I've seen, sort of like, okay, like this is what, having a family looks like. And this is what having a career looks like. How can I make this happen right now?
Cool. And there's nothing wrong with that. On the contrary, it is a maturity that many people struggle to achieve even in their 50s, because they somewhere along the lines got sidetracked by life or by circumstances, by a number of things that can change the way you think, and that you lose track of what is important.
Yeah.
And with you, however, that seems to be rather a laser sharp focus, and I guess to a degree, a moral compass that guides you towards what you think is right. And then, so if you see an opportunity, what is your path? How do you go about creating or turning a dream/vision into reality? Do you have a process?
Yes. I think I'm originally from the suburbs of New York. So I've always been, and I'm Jewish, and I lived in a neighborhood where there weren't many Jews. And so I always sort of, I always had a way to sort of stand out. And I think that with being from New York in the suburbs, not even like in the city, and like just having a mindset of wanting to like up level my life and, moving, across the country to California, and sort of, thinking about how California and my industry in California is sort of, is booming right now, and thinking about the opportunities that I could have here, began to focus on how can I up level my life? How can I take what I'm doing right now and sort of move to the next level? And so for me, it's really about, like my first thing when I got to San Diego last year was I sat down with myself for half an hour, and I just envisioned what my perfect day and my perfect life would look like. And I envisioned every single bit of it. It was what car I was driving, how many kids I had, if I had any kids at all, who my spouse was, what I was eating, where I was, what I was wearing, all of the things. I envisioned it, and I wrote it all down. And then I took that and I started to evaluate that. And I said, okay, this job that I'm holding right now isn't going to get me to that point. So I dropped that job and I went to go find a different job that helped that. And I currently I currently have 3 jobs, 3 internships that are moving me towards being the best version, the ultimate version of myself. And I think that's really what it is. It's like, how can I get this opportunity, right? I look at it, I evaluate it, I go, A, is it sort of in line with my values? Yes, okay, great. Is it, next thing, is it sort of in line with where I want to go and what, sort of I want to do career-wise, personally, whatever it is? Yes or no? If yes, okay, great. And then is the pay enough? Is the opportunity really, really worth it? And if it is, I go for it. If not, then I say that, I sort of bargain with it. And I say, okay, how can I, can I use it eventually? Can I use it now to sort of get to somewhere else? Or can I, sort of ask them if they can give me a little bit more towards it? And so that's really, what it is. But I think the ultimate thing is like, just knowing who you are and knowing how capable you are of something and fighting for that.
Beautiful. That's my book, My Steps to Sobriety. I've just written a workbook that goes along with that, with exercises that guide you from the initial, well, do you have a problem with alcohol, towards, what will your life be and how do you get off the alcohol? How do you live a life? Guess what one of the first exercises is? Exactly
There you
what
go.
you have written. Exactly. That's exactly what I say. And it's quite amazing when you do that. I was helping a friend. She started off her life coaching business, and I helped by being in her first audience. I thought no one would turn up, so I better go there, be one of the guys who turns up. Well, a few people turned up, and we did the whole thing. And she made us do this exercise, and she said, "I want you to turn around to your neighbor, who you have no idea who he or she is, and I want you in 3 minutes describe your perfect life."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, I did that. And so talk, and then my neighbor did the same with me. And then we did a few other exercises, a few other lectures, and then she came back and said, "You know, guys, the first exercise that you have done, I want you now to imagine that it is 3 years ahead in time. And I want you now to turn around to your partner and now describe your life 3 years down the line when you have achieved everything." And I thought, oh, good. Okay, let's try that. And I started talking. And what came out of my mouth was such a story, I believed it. I felt it. I was convinced it is the whole truth. And I scared myself a bit. I still get goosebumps actually when I just talk about it, because it is this power of envisioning something and writing it down in meticulous details, not planning it out, describing it. And by just doing so, you're actually creating it. You don't know it yet, but you do. So what a beautiful, beautiful, oh, God, I love it.
I
I love it
know,
how you
I
talk.
know. When I first, started to give my speech, because one of my speeches that I do, when I keynotes I do, is all about how to find your passion. This whole three-way, process, how to find it. But when I first started to do it, I used that exercise to start it out. Now I use that exercise in a completely different speech, but when I first started doing my passion one, that's what I did. And I was like, okay, the thing you're thinking of, what you're going to be working on, is sort of your passion now. I mean, it's changed, immensely, that speech, but I remember one of the first times I did it, this girl like DM'd me afterwards, and she's like, "Sammy, like when I did that visualization, like I literally saw myself doing exactly what I've been thinking I've been wanting to do for the longest time now." And she's like, "Now I'm gonna start pursuing it, and now I'm gonna start doing it." And I was like, "That's the point." Like I was like that. She's like, "It just felt so real," and I was like, "Cause it is." It's like that's your future.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. When you came to San Diego, is there a strong Jewish community there? Was the Jewish faith part of your move? Because you were saying that in the New York suburbs there were not many Jews around. Was that one of the reasons that you moved, or was it just coincidental?
Yeah, it was. I mean, since I go to college over here, there's a few Jewish organizations on campus, and so I'm heavily involved in them. And but it was just in my town in New York, in the New York suburbs, that didn't have a high Jewish population. But sort of the temple I went to, the synagogue I went to, obviously all the Jews were there, and they were from the sort of the surrounding towns, and so I became good friends with them, and it was great to always go to temple and like have that community. But really, the main reason for coming to San Diego, coming to California, was for school, and just knowing that a bunch of different opportunities would open up over here for me, and it would be much better, than going to school in New York. Also, because I hate the snow, so I sort of wanted to get away from that too. So, coming over here was there's so many reasons why. Yeah.
So the Puerto Rican roots clearly shine
Mm-hmm.
through.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I know it is what it is. I like you. It is. I give me the summer anytime,
Yeah.
and oh, cool. So now you're there, and I mean, thinking about it, the way you go about it, there is. I hear so much connection and communication going on in your life. You didn't just go there and sit in your room and sort of think, well, I really would like to do that. Let's just wait and see. No, you went out there, you went to the synagogue, you went to the various organizations that are there, you checked them out. And I love the way you looked at it. Is that fitting with my moral compass? Yes,
Yeah.
cool, I stick with it, and so on. It's these beautiful questions that you ask yourself. It's wonderful. It is a beautiful process. And I think I couldn't have spelled it out in a better way. So, guys, if you're watching or listening, just wind a bit back, listen again to her voice. That is gold. So, you said yourself that you're a little bit ahead of your time, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And again, nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Unless, of course, you rattle the cages of those insecure people around you that don't like to be rattled. So we've got something called tall poppy syndrome here in New Zealand. The moment you raise your head up, you get torpedoed from below because people just don't like that. They rather prefer you to be in the same misery, wallowing that they are. Rather, who are you? Do you get that kind of bullshit thrown at you?
I think definitely more in high school I did. Because I mean, I've just, again, like I've always been the kid who's sort of just like out of the ordinary. I just never was, sort of in with everyone else. And I think that, when I first started, I started the podcast in high school. And when I first started it, my mentor was behind me 1,000%, and she still is to this day. But she was like, Sammy, like you need to sort of, get this out to all the other kids, like all your other kids in your class. And I was like, no, I'm okay, thanks. And she's like, no, like you should. And I was like, no. She's like, then I will. I was like, okay, have fun with that one. But I think really what it is I've learned to only hold the people so close to me who I know are going to support me. Like I only really have 5 to 6 true friends who I know are friends who are going to stick by me no matter what, who support me, who, like all my posts, listen to all the podcasts, comment on all the posts, like whatever. Obviously that doesn't define a friendship, but it's support, and I think that I've learned even over the past 6 months, sort of what true friends are supposed to be and how they're supposed to act and, sort of be to you and how you're supposed to be as a true friend to them. And I think I just sort of, weeded out who doesn't need to be in my community anymore. That way I can have more power to sort of go against these, sort of irrelevant people who are just be like, trying to knock me down and trying to, encourage me to fit in with everyone else. Because I don't want to fit in with everyone else. There's no point in doing that. I am on the road to up leveling my life to a point where no one in my family has achieved so far, or no one, sort of my friend group has achieved so far. And I'm going to do that no matter who stands in my way.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And indeed, it is. I come from a very blue collar background. No one ever in my family went to university, and so I know that the feelings that run through you. I grew up earning money from the word go. So I would be at school, and then straight from school, I would be going stacking wood in a trade shop, etc. So what you're describing to me is very familiar. A few months ago now, but it is what it is, and if you focus and you've learned it at a very early stage, you can achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's lovely that you had a mentor there. That is, how did that come about? I mean, when I was at school, there were no mentors. There were no nothing. That might be a sign of the time. So I'm one generation back. But
Right.
Was that something that was peculiar to your school?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I call her my mentor now, but she started out as my public speaking teacher. One of the English electives in our school for seniors was public speaking. And so she was my public speaking teacher at first, and me being the teacher's pet she was my last class of the day, so I'd always hang back and just chat with her for a little bit about pretty much anything. And then the last speech of because it was a semester long class, so the last speech of the class was a motivational speech. And what I had done was I recorded myself every day before the speech, just a little bit of like a motivation, just to like practice, right? And I uploaded it to SoundCloud every single day. And on the day of the speech afterwards, I showed it to her, and she's like, Sammy, you need to make like an official podcast on this. I was like, no, there's no way in heck I'm doing that. I was like, nah, I'm okay. And she's like, no, like go do it. And so we went out on December break after that. I looked it up how to make a podcast. And then I came in, in the new year, I showed her this logo I'd created, and she's like, Sammy, I have chills. And I was like, great. I was like, perfect. I was like, this is going to be it. We're going to do this. I had no idea what I was getting into. We're 58 episodes in now, and I can't believe I'm still doing it. And then the second half of my senior year, we have a thing where we have to do a senior project where we get an internship, we get a mentor, and we sort of, just like dabble in our field a little bit. And I was like, I am working, working 2 jobs at the time. And I was like, I need to just use the podcast as my internship. And so luckily the teacher let me, and then we need to find a mentor. And I was like, who better than my public speaking teacher? And so I asked her to be my mentor. She's like, yeah, of course I will. And so we just, from there, we gotten so close, and she's currently in the midst of trying to get her own self-help book published. And so we just sort of have been, each other's guides in many different things. I help her with Instagram and marketing and all this stuff like that. And she'll help me with like life advice and stuff like that. So, I'm so happy to call her my friend now, because I've known her for 3 years now. But I still call her my mentor because that's just what she is, and she always says like, as much as you call me your mentor, like you're mine too. And I was like, you know what? Fair enough. So I am forever grateful for her. I talk about her all the time. Like my best friends know all about her, like the ones who didn't even go to my school. And so it was just luck that I found someone who was so like, our paths just lined up so much. And, and we were just on the same road to sort of, achieving our dreams. And that was, just what we connected on. And we decided to, sort of stay in touch from there.
What's her name?
Her name is Melissa Perch. And just a little plug for her, you can find her on Instagram at Perch Gets Published. And so it's PYRCH Gets Published.
Excellent. Because someone like that needs to be lauded. Someone like that who is going out of their way to help a young person to grow. Oh, these are the people who change the world. And Miss Perch, there you are. I will look you up and will follow you. And no, I'm not a stalker from New Zealand. Sammy told me to. Okay.
And she will be listening to this for sure. Don't you worry.
Brilliant. Oh, well done, you. Okay. Wow. So much focus. So much focus. I think if there's one word that describes you, it is focus, which is beautiful. But what do you do to de-stress? What do you do to go,
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a rare occasion. I'll say that. Especially now, school just started up. And so I'm very much in hustle mode right now because a lot of the nonprofits I work for are on the school, sort of the school year schedule. So we're all just starting up right now. But I think really what I've learned is like even though you have to, you're working for yourself and you think in the first starting years, you have to work every single day, 24 hours a day. I think the thing that I've learned is just like take a day off. Like this morning, like all I did was I sat in bed and watched a little bit of television, like just to give myself a little bit of a break. Luckily I don't have any Friday classes, so I was just good to go. But I think just like, knowing you can give yourself a break and not being guilty about it is the biggest thing, because especially in America, there's so much emphasis on like work. If you want to like get up to the C-suite or whatever it is. But if you work so hard, you're going to burn out so quickly. And I've learned that from experience time and time again. There was a time where I was getting up at 3:30 in the morning and I was going to bed at 10 o'clock and I felt like I still didn't have enough time in my day. And I was like, this doesn't make sense because I preach, you have enough time in your day, but I don't feel like I have enough time in my own day, even though I'm up for, whatever, how many hours it was. And so I realized it's because I'm not using my time effectively. I'm up, but I'm not awake, And so it was really just this like idea of like, let me start focusing on, eating enough, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. And that's where I started to realize like, oh, maybe I should start implementing some healthy habits into my life, not just the habits of like getting my work done and like showing up for all the appointments I had to do or for school I had to go to, but like actually healthier habits, like, eating the right foods, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, having the right friends around you, having the right people around you, cleaning up your environment and having the right mindset. And that's really sort of where, this little project, little book of mine sort of came about because I'm, everything of that is in there. And so that's my biggest thing is like, just take some time for yourself, and don't feel guilty about it. And just remember that you have to come first or else nothing else is going to succeed.
So true. I mean, was it Abraham Lincoln who said, if I had 8 hours to cut down a tree, then I would spend 6 hours sharpening the saw or the axe? So yes, that is so true. But we pay lip service to it. And how often do I find myself in exactly that boat? So I've been burning the candle on both ends. Why? Because I actually love it. I actually love to be this creative. I love, like you, I love to be out there, do things. And someone comes to me with a new project and I think, wow, yeah, let's do that. And I throw myself into and finish another thing. And before you blink, you actually think, why am I feeling a bit funny? Oh, you haven't drunk a single drop for, I don't know, 8 hours. Funny that is that you feel a bit parched. And you find yourself angry at someone. You think, well, hang on, why am I angry about what he just said? Oh, no breakfast? And lunch was nothing. Hangry. It's as stupid like that. So I think one of the things that I learned in rehab was to really put emphasis on a structured day and to actually make sure that your basic needs as a human being are absolutely met. So that's the food. And with that, I don't mean shit food. I mean good, healthy nutrition. I'm just working on some cookbooks to help people actually a bit on that. But that is the nutrition, the rehydration, and the sleep. If there are three cornerstones really of this pyramid, and that is really what you want. But then, please, the creativity and the connection and all that is just as important. Yeah. So these are the things. If you can actually nourish them, well, that's a start, and then you can think about your visions and your other things. So I love your focus. Coming back to the basics.
Yes,
that's what works. And whilst you guys see me here drinking, this is not Coke or something like that. That's just coffee, okay? And lots of it. So there's my own vice, my one vice that is left, the coffee. So don't you write in, ooh, you're drinking too much coffee. I bite back. So no, that's brilliant. So here you are. So what are your plans, Sammi? Where I dread to say, where do you see yourself in 1 year's time? Because I don't know if I've got the time in my interview to get it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Tell me, what are your dreams? What are your plans?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much I want to do, so I'll keep it very, very simple.
Bring it on. Bring it on. This is your life.
No, but basically, I mean, I want to continue the podcast for as long as I can. We just launched season 4. And so we just, we're about to round out on 10,000 downloads, and I'm super excited about that. And I hope to, just have it grow till infinity and beyond. It's just something that I didn't know would change my life, but it did. And I'm so entirely grateful for it, and just allowing myself to, speak to others across the globe, but also to bring on other people's stories and hear their stories and sort of relate to them or find out new things about them or learn things from them has just been just so transformational. I'm launching my marketing agency in January, which is going to be super fun. All different things: how to start a podcast, social media marketing, little knickknacks here and there for people who just want to get to know Instagram or get to know Facebook or whatever it is. I want to dive solely into my passion coaching, and sort of help out. I have, about 3 potential clients right now. I want to dive into so many more people and really help them, find a passion of it they can pursue to eventually help them leave their 9 to 5 or leave whatever they want to leave, or stay in whatever they want to stay in, but fix it to have, to let them have more fun in their life and love their life a whole lot more. I eventually just, want to solely focus on speaking all around the world and all around the globe pretty much, and talking about how to find your passion, how to, create a dream life for yourself, and, talk about my mental health journey and sort of what, how I bounced back from it and how I, got to this point in my life. And, I also, there are just so many things I want to do. I want to write, 3 more books from the one I'm writing right now, after this one, and get them all published with a publisher, and sort of, and just do all the things.
So Tony Robbins, move aside. Okay, sorry, Tony, you've had your time. I think Sammi Reyes is on her way to give you a run for your money. And how cool is that? We know if you look around right now in your classroom, you would find an incidence of at least 1 in 5, if not more, of the young women around you will have anxiety disorder, classified and often enough medicated. What would you tell those girls if you had a quiet one-on-one with them?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice is just to hold on. I think that, thank God I have such an amazing support system, but there were so many times where I just thought that it would rule the rest of my life. I thought that I was just going to have to live a certain way, and that would be the end of it. And my mentor and so many other people have really opened my eyes to the fact that it does not have to be like that at all. But also, the biggest healer is time, which is unfortunate because a lot of us are not patient these days because, there's just so, like, this just society runs so fast nowadays. But we have to develop the patience to just hold on and realize that if we be conscious of ourselves every single day and take little itty bitty steps every single day to move forward, to move that needle in your life, it all comes out well. And I know, like, all the time when I tell my story, it just seems like it just happened in an instant and it happened, just like this, but it really didn't. The amount of tears I cried, I could fill, 6 gallons of, a bucket. And like, that wouldn't even be sufficient enough. The amount of questions I've asked myself to the point where I got tired, about, am I good enough? Do I actually want to do this? All the things like that I could, it's as long as a 100-page scroll. And, even though it feels like it's never going to sort of stop controlling you, you have the power to control it. You have the power to wake up every single morning and make that conscious decision to say, no, I'm going to rule my day today. It's not going to rule my day.
And so true, so true. My steps to sobriety, I need to do a bit of advertisement here. The reason I pointed out is I've got actually, there's a chapter in there where I talk about cravings, and I describe them as waves in the ocean. You may like it or may not like it that there's this big wave coming towards you. The wave doesn't care. The wave will come. So this craving will wash over you, but it is like a wave. It will come, wash over you and go. Now it's the same with an anxiety attack. It will happen. You can like it or you can lump it. You can fight it. You can cry and scream about it. The anxiety attack doesn't care. Okay. It will be there. So you might as well try to ride the wave and accept, okay, right now I'm really feeling my heart going 100 miles per hour and the sweat is pouring. And I've got all these thoughts. Okay. That's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe something like that. Learn that, accept it, and don't feel bad about it. You're not a failure because you suddenly are hyperventilating sitting in the toilet. No, it happens. That happens to me. That happens to a hell of a lot of people. That probably happens to your teacher if you're sitting in school, to your lecturer if you're sitting in university. It happens to a hell of a lot of people. And the key is to accept it and to learn to live with it without shame and guilt. It's
Yeah.
just something that happens.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes is, even though you are struggling, it does not mean you're failing. So it's so
Absolutely.
true. It's like, yes, every day may not be great, but that doesn't mean your life is over. It doesn't mean that, an hour or two of just like sitting in panic for a minute, it doesn't mean that the world is going to end or your life is going to end. It doesn't mean that at all. It's just, surviving through that for a minute and then coming back to your consciousness and be like, okay, where can I move from here? What do I have to do, next? And sort of being, taking that deep breath and realizing that, another minute is upon you.
And don't forget, you can not just accept it as a wave that comes out of nowhere. You can maybe accept it as a message from your gut or a message from your body to actually say, did you really look after yourself? Did you really hydrate? Did you really eat? Did you really sleep enough? Or have you stuffed up? Not because you're a bad person, but because you didn't pay attention to the basics. And is it now time for you to actually just stop, go out there, have a smoothie or have a drink or something like that, and give yourself some moments of break? And surprise, surprise, the anxiety is gone. And you actually realize, yeah, okay, I stuffed up. But not that you're a bad person. No, it is what it is. So reframe it. Look at the anxiety as, actually, does it want to tell me something? And cool, thank you. I need to drink something. Thank you, anxiety. Thanks for letting me know. Down you go. Brilliant. Now, I need to ask you, because I suffered quite a bit from what I'm talking about now, and that is imposter syndrome.
Mm.
Here you are, 19, sitting down, giving a podcast, giving advice to people who are twice your age, 3 times your age. And uh, that is you. Now, me, I could say, well, I'm a doctor and I am an alcoholic who has got 7 years of recovery, and I've written a book about it. So, hey, I'm an expert. Nah. It's these little voices. Ooh, who are you? Who are you to do a podcast? Who are you? And unfortunately, my boys were not very supportive, because they said, what, a podcast? It was the kind of, don't embarrass us kind of thing. And it was bizarre. It was, so I had actually a lot of initial people are none. Few people around me gave me doubts, but it was those people who were really cherished most, my boys in this
Mm.
case. So that was hard. Even that kind of little roll in the eye, the kind of eyebrow going up. And I thought, am I good enough? Who should I really do that? I mean, no doubt. I see you nodding there, and you feel the same things as I do. How did you deal with that?
I mean, it hasn't gone away.
Hmm.
Even though we're in season 4 of the podcast, even though I've been on, Instagram running a, kind of an influencer-ish account for 2 years now, it hasn't gone away. I think that, I hate to go back to it, but I think the biggest thing for me was just surrounding myself with people who, were supported me, but also the people who were in the same, sort of space as me. So my mentor, for example, she's rocking Instagram right now. She's all over it, and she's just someone who, tells me every day, like, don't worry about everyone else, worry about yourself, and it's like, that's what you just got to do. And, another one of my teachers from school, like, she is also rocking Instagram. She's doing a whole thing about sort of inquiry-based learning, which is what stemmed the entirety of everything I'm doing today. And, so just like, and I'm just so close to them. I text them every single day, ask them all these different questions. And it's just like having people like, in like, as much as my mentor is my mentor, she's also a peer of mine, because she is in the same space as me in Instagram, and we're sort of, going through the same struggles at the same time about, not having our followers increase, or not getting enough engagement, or, how to post this or how to post that, or how do I, increase this or increase that. And so, in that aspect, it gives me a little bit more, sort of reassurance. Like, I'm not the only one who's struggling with this. I'm not the only one who's here in this space, who doesn't have 150,000 followers yet, who doesn't have that little blue check mark next to their name. And so I think, and especially with the podcast too, it's like, I'm in these podcast groups and I see people that are like, oh yeah, we just reached 100,000 downloads. And I'm like, I'm over here like, I've been working at this for 2 years. Why haven't I gotten any farther? And, my mentor always reminds me every single day, she's like, because the amount of downloads you're getting, those amount of people you're impacting. So imagine they're filling up an auditorium, and that's the amount of impact you're making. That is enough. It's enough for now. It should be good enough for you right now. And she's like, just keep growing and just keep going, and you'll eventually get there, and stay consistent too. And I think, having that reassurance is really just the key to me, not sort of beating myself up about it. But there are still times, especially last year, where I was contemplating so many different things about my life. I was like, why am I doing any of this for? What's the point? Like, I was like, my life is not really doing so well right now. So how can I help others? I felt like such a hypocrite, and to the point where I felt so numb, because I had nothing I had no drive in me anymore. There's nothing that I was fighting for. There's something that I was really, sort of going after achieving. And that's sort of where everything was like, okay, let's just drop everything right now and never do it ever again. Let's find a new career for myself. We're going to go down the 9-to-5 path right now and do all this stuff. And I was like, no, there's no way in heck that I'm doing all of that. So I took a break, I stepped back and sort of reevaluated myself. And now we're here today.
No, girl, what you had was a good burnout. You had burned a candle on both ends and in the middle. Hey, I wrote that chapter on burnout. I created burnout, okay? I lived it. And it's exactly that. And I recognize that that's the key thing. So if you guys out there have heard about burnout and don't really know what it is, the key hallmark was just said by Sammi. You stop caring. You do no longer actually want to do what you just have got enough of it and of everything. And that's burnout. That's burnout. You lose your empathy, you lose your passion. And that's when you need to step back and say, whoa, what's going on here? And it is burnout. And that's, again, coming to the basics. Actually allow yourself a day of Netflix or whatever it is that you need to do. With that, I don't mean active recharging. That comes after. Okay, you need right now to crash. Allow yourself, whatever it is, Candy Crush. I don't care what you do, as long as you give your body to just time to just do nothing. And I mean absolutely nothing. And then comes a point when you actually go into nature and soak up the sun. And then that's when you move out of the fetal position, out of the bed, and actually go out there and again, recharge, do all the right things. And suddenly this passion is back. And it is, please, been there so many times. And I recognize it again. It's like a wave. I recognize it because I have, again, said yes to too many opportunities. And it's often self-inflicted. well, it's always self-inflicted, for crying out loud. Who am I kidding? So, but it is what it is. So please recognize it for what it is. Don't feel guilt. Don't feel shame. Just take it as a message from your body to say, okay, really, we love your passion, but can you just stop for a moment? And okay, so guys, it's all normal. I guess that's the big message that Sammy and I are sending you out there. It is normal to feel from now and then not 100%. This is not a bloody soap opera where everyone is always in love, always good looking, and just perfect. Bullshit. Bullshit. There are days when you don't want to get out of bed. And guess what? It's okay from now and then to do exactly that. Just stay in your Jimmy Jams. And if you need to have an ice cream or five, well, so be it, okay? This world will not stop turning if you just give yourself a day out, okay?
Yeah.
Sammy, I can't wait to see you grow. I can't wait for your book to come out and for the next books to arrive. So please, please, let's stay in touch and let's learn from each other, because I've learned a hell of a lot from you already today. And I've got a big cheesy smile on my face because you confirmed so many of my own convictions. And the words that came out of your mouth just make me smile, because we are both actually very alike in what we want to achieve. We want to make this world a little bit better, one little interview at a time, one little Instagram message at a time. And that's beautiful if just more of us will do that. So if we too start throwing snowballs and we have little avalanches happening, and the snowballs, then the snow touches others, and the kind of snowball system, how beautiful will that be? Maybe this world will change. Maybe this world will soon be. So, sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good.
No, I was about to ask, so it is a beautiful conclusion to the interview. If there's anything you wanted to share with my viewers or listeners out there, what would that be? What would be the one key message that you want everyone to know, and maybe others around you, in those you see in the lecture halls around you? What would you love to send them?
Don't hold back. Stand in your potential, stand in what you know you're capable of, and don't hold it back from anyone. Don't be ashamed of it. Don't fear that you have to feel included with everyone else, because you don't. The best people, the people who change the world, are the ones who stand out, are the ones who go against every single odd, every single thing that's written down in every single book, and who change those books the way they're written. I think it's so important to, once you find that little part of how you're going to make the world better by finding your passion, whether it's by, like playing the violin and becoming the best, violinist, and then, donating to a bunch of amazing charities, or it's by, doing stuff like you and I are doing, and, falling into your own personal development journey and wanting to help others, like whatever it is, like, anything someone does that they wholeheartedly love to do will change the world in some way or another. And just by having more people find and pursue what they love to do is the most important thing. But once they find what they love to do, they need to realize that because they love it so much, they have that potential to, sort of pursue it, and they have the capability to be good at it and to stand out and, rise up in the ranks.
Beautiful. Sammy, it was an absolute pleasure. I'm humbled to have you on my show. Sammi Reyes, a power out there to be reckoned with, and I'm delighted to have had you on. You guys, just listen again to Sammy's interview. There are so many nuggets of wisdom in there, and so many good things. Well done, Sammy. And all of you out there, you look after yourself and have a fantastic time. Bye.